Okay, well, it is 2 o'clock, so in consideration of everybody's time, I will start. So this is going to be a very informal session. We've been getting an awful lot of questions about our new platform. We have upgraded the OACFP website and added the LMS, the OACFP ACE platform. It's a little bit of a new experience to get used to. So to try and help out some of the members, we've decided to run this little demonstration. We have some videos that we also created that are available on our education platform. But as we go through the process and do a quick demo, Kate's gonna break in with a few questions that we've been getting from members to try and clarify some things. We also feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. We have a small group and ask any questions along the way. Again, this is a very informal process. So basically, what the best way to start, if you should all be able to see my screen, is you need to log into your OACFP member portal first. So if you don't have a profile, contact the office or your manager, and they can send you through your information so that we can set you up with one. Once you log in with your credentials, you'll come to this. This is exclusive just to members. So I'll go through a few things before I get to the LMS. In your My Account setting, you can actually change any of the information regarding your profile. So if you view your profile, you'll see all the information we have on file. If you need to change your location of employment, you have to contact the office. But pretty much anything other than that, you can change on your own by just editing the profile. And if we go back to the account, another interesting feature that we've just added is you can view any of the past emails from the OACFP in your profile here. So prior to April, our webinars that were done through our previous system, those certificates aren't in the LMS platform. You'd have to find them back in your emails, or we do have records of them in the office, so don't worry about that. But if you go back to any of those emails from previous webinars, you would see one in this right here that's listed webinar follow-up. If you go to look at that, you can actually download the certificate that went at that time with that webinar that you viewed. So those are all still in the history, but they haven't been transferred over to the LMS platform. The other thing, you can change your password either here in your settings, or you can actually do it right from your drop-down menu there. If there's any invoices outstanding, they would show up here. If you go to the view profile, you can see any of your past invoices, any other registrations you did outside of the LMS would be shown here. So then, though, to moving into the LMS, you want to go to either, if you're on your home page, you can click the brown banner that right there, or the OACFP ACE menu. So once you click that, that'll bring you into the LMS portal. It takes a little while, so be patient. There's a lot of education logged in our system, so it does take a little while sometimes. So you get to the main page here, which will show all of the courses that are currently uploaded into the OACFP ACE platform. So let me just make sure I'm touching all my points here. You do have to be logged in to get member prices. So the complimentary webinars that are both in the 2003 e-learning series, and they are also, all past webinars are in the e-learning recorded webinar presentation. Those are still all free of charge for members, as long as you're logged in and it's showing that you are a member.
I have a question.
Sure, Kate.
Okay, so I bring up OACFP ACE, and I know that I'm a member.
Yeah.
And I see that there is a charge for e-learning webinar series 2023. What does that indicate to me right away?
That you're not logged in.
Right on.
So the other way you can check that is up at the top. It'll show that you're signed in, or on this main menu, this main ribbon here with the menus, it will give you the opportunity to either log in or create a profile. If you are a member, make sure you're creating the profile, like contact the office or your manager, so that we can make sure you're set up under the proper organization. And then, so to register, there's different courses. So there are some that are a charge. Some of our like the cemetery management course has a charge for it. You can do the crematorium operator program, which is virtual, would have a charge for it as well. There are some other education options there that do have a fee attached, but the webinar series is still free of charge for members. So if you press the course overview, the system's set up that it's courses and sessions, and then inside the session is a module. So each course, and we've set up the e-learning series as a course, will have the 6 free webinars listed as separate sessions. And you can tell if you've already registered for one because it'll say a session has already been purchased. But for example, I haven't registered next for the November 16th webinar. So what you need to do is add that to your cart. And a point here, if we do have the ability now to set up people, either managers or location managers or the people in charge of your membership, as what we call super users, you would be able to assign education to anyone in your organization. If you are a super user, it would show up here as a drop down to assign the education to a different person. If you happen to actually in the past have registered people, like groups at your location for the webinars, you could still do that. Just contact the office, let us know you want to be set up as a super user, and then you could just add them one at a time to the webinar and check out all of them at the same time. So basically, you have to add that to your cart. Then it is a 2-step process. You have to go to the cart to then purchase it. Even though it is 0, we still have to check out. That's how the education gets into your particular profile. So you check out. If there was a charge, it would ask you whether you want to invoice it or pay by credit card. There's no charge. So then it shows you a copy of your invoice. You can go back to your profile now. And then, so that's the registering process. To actually access the education, you go to the My Education tab. And again, it takes a little while to load up. So it's broken down into 3 sections. So my upcoming activities are all of the education you've registered for but haven't started yet. There's my current activities, which is things you may have started already if there's a number of pre-recorded videos or other activities, and then the completed section. So the one I just registered for is the next webinar, which should be in here. Right there. So in order to get access the information in that particular session or course, you have to click the title of it. And now this is the next webinar that's coming up. So there actually is this 2-step process for that. You'd have to click the link to then register for the Zoom webinar. But don't be too concerned about that. At the back end, we actually do register everybody who hasn't in the Zoom platform, so you should be in the Zoom. But if it's easier, it's actually much easier for you to do it ahead of time. It is in the link for that specific Zoom webinar is also in an email that gets sent automatically when you register, but it's also in the platform here. But if it was a recorded webinar, we'll go back to one of those. So all of our webinars from this year are now recordings as well. So if you went, so the last one, the social media one, if you missed the live presentation, you'll still be able to go back. The recording will automatically be there. You just press the view button under there, and the recording should start automatically.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alan Job,
there it
President
is.
of OACFP. I welcome all of you to today's webinar.
And then all you have to do is watch through to the end of the video, and it should automatically move over to your completed activity. And if you are in a course that's other than a webinar, there are sometimes like let's say this one, the small cemetery governance course. It does have, other than recorded content, there would be documents you can download. That'll be in these sections. All you need to do is click to view it, and the PDF should show up automatically, and then you can either download them or watch them as you're watching along with the videos. So once you've actually either watched the live video and we've updated the attendance, or there's a recorded one that you've watched all the way through, it should automatically switch over to your completed activities. And in the completed activities, it right now will hold the history of everything you've done in the LMS. So if there's more than 4 that you've done, you just click the arrows to see what the other ones are. And then if you happen to need the certificate, you can just click the blue button and the certificate should come up automatically. And a note on the certificates, my understanding is you don't need them when you do your renewal if you need it for your licensing. You just need the titles and the dates and the provider of the courses. If for some reason the BAO does ask for them, we do have records here and can always produce them. So if there happens to be a missing certificate, it's not the end of the world. We will have a copy of your education here. Did I miss anything exciting yet, Kate?
No, the only thing, again, to remember, everyone, is that this site went live in April. There were 2 webinars that were presented prior to April. And again, those will not be reflected under your completed activities. The certificates for those, if you want them, are again going to be available under your email log, which is under my account and view my profile. So bear that in mind. Oh. And I really like the fact, Darren, that you mentioned that the certificates are not required when you go to renew your license. What is required is the name of the session that you took, the date that you took it, the number of hours, and the category. So bear that in mind. The only time that you're going to be required to produce your certificates is in the event that you are audited for CE purposes by the BAO. And in that case, if you don't have your certificates, fear not, we can look after you. We'll look up your certificate. We can also look up your viewing history. So we've got you.
Yeah, and Ron's asked the question, if you happen to miss the live presentation of the webinar, where do you pick up the recording? It's in exactly the same place. So if for example, I will be there, but if I happen to miss Howard's webinar on the 16th, all you would have to do, it takes us about a day to get the recording uploaded into the system. So check back if the webinar is on Thursday, Friday, or the following Monday, and you would just click into that session, which might be, yeah. And rather than having this information about the webinar, it'll actually be a recording that you can just click and view. It'll be exactly the same session. So it'll already be in your profile if you've registered for it. You just have to go and watch the recording. And the other thing that I did want to mention is we've been getting a lot of questions about the previous webinar library. That is still here. It's just all in one place. So as I say, we've divided it up into the 2023 session of the 6 webinars because they're all brand new this year. And then what's called the e-learning recording library. So as soon as this loads, I'll show you where that is. It looks similar. So this is the 2023 e-learning series, and you can always, if you press search, you can just search for webinar. It'll bring up everything that has the title webinar on it. And then on this side, there's different catalogs set up of the specifics of the courses. So the recording webinar library is actually only accessible for members. And you could click it here and it should show up. It's also in the main catalog. And so this is every past webinar prior to 2023 that the recordings are still relevant. You just click the course overview. They're all individually set up as sessions.
Hey, Darren, while we're waiting for that to load.
Yeah.
We've got a question. What's the easiest way to find the actual date of the webinar? It's not printed on the certificate.
The date you watched it or the date it was presented?
Well, let's think about both. I think that what's of interest, frankly, is probably when you watched it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and that'll be in our records. We will have that. The date it's watched is not on the certificate, but actually that's a good point. We'll look into having that added to the certificates. And the other thing I would mention is that we've had a couple questions about the December 31st that's on, you notice on all of these recordings. That's not when they're going to be presented. We have to set it up as December 31st because it's available until. All of the recordings should be marked that they are recordings. And so this is every session just by title that we have recordings of. If you've watched them before, again, it'll show this grayed out that sessions are already purchased, because if you are using it for your license renewal, you can only use the session once. But so everything is available until the end of the year, and then we'll just recycle it, excuse me, at the beginning in January.
I also wanted to ask you, Darren, is there a certain browser that works a little better with our LMS?
We found that Chrome is actually the best one. I'm actually on Firefox right now, and it seems to work fine. It does not work very well on a phone or on a tablet at this point. It does function. You have to be mindful, though, on a tablet especially. The menus are very different. You'll be looking for the 3 lines, or what they call a hamburger, to access all of this information that's here, all of the catalogs, all of the menus. The information is still there, and they have been working to have the recordings actually work on a tablet as well. So it should still be possible for you to watch it on an iPad, and all that information will be stored under your profile as well.
Awesome. How long is the certificate kept in the site or under My Education tab?
So right now we have it set for indefinitely, so they never will be removed. I'm imagining probably 6 years from now, we'll be wanting to change that, but everything is kept for everyone right now, for forever. Now, the other thing I would mention is that even if you switch employers, or you happen to move out of the sector and you still we still have your profile, it might be moved to inactive, but all of the information would still be there. If you move employers, that profile, again, which is why it's important to be signed in your personal profile, that it will all move with you to your other employer. And on that note, I should also mention that if there's any managers or people who are in charge of the memberships for the company online, when it comes to your account, you might have 2 or maybe 3, depending on the role you have. So we have our system set up that there's employees, and that's the one I'm logged in under right now. But we also have location managers. So if you happen to work for a larger company that has 3 or 4 locations and has managers at those locations, you could be a site manager, and that would show up at the top, or you could be the primary. Make sure that you're logged in under the employee one if you're wanting to keep the education for CE purposes. You can also then in those other profiles, though, you can add employees to your company. You can check who's listed under your company to make sure that there hasn't been anybody who's left. You can also then add other locations to your account as well. So, but that should show when you first log in as to which profile you're actually on.
Okay, that's awesome. One of the, just in terms of a few things that we've noticed that people have experienced difficulty with is the fact that I thought I registered for the session, but I'm not seeing it under my upcoming activities. And as I understand it, Darren, the problem is probably that you have left that particular course sitting in your basket and you haven't completed the checkout. Is that right?
Yeah, and as I say, even if there is, even though there's no charge for it, you still have to complete the checkout process and make sure you get to that screen where the invoice is displayed, the zero invoice, and that should be in your profile. The other instance where that could occur is if you've happened to sign in under a different profile, registered there, and then you've gone to your employee profile and it's not there. I've had that come up quite a few times if you happen to be a manager or a primary for one of the accounts.
Right. Okay. I'm wondering if it might be useful because perhaps we've had a few people join us late. Just to again reiterate, I go to OACFP.com. Then I go to login.
Correct.
And then once I'm logged in, I go to OACFP ACE and I click on the brown banner or OACFP ACE up at the top, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then it's going to take a minute to load because we have a lot of stuff
Because we are
available. And then I'm going to look up to the top right and I'm going to see that I'm signed in. And then I'm going to look on that green banner because green means go. And I'm going to go over to my education. And there I'm going to see under my upcoming activities, what I have on the menu for my CE. And then I'm going to take a look at techno-resilient people, for instance, the 5 traits, and I'm going to hover over that. And when it turns teal, I'm going to click on that. And then voila, there is my webinar ready to view. I'm going to click that caret or that downward arrow. And oh, look on the left, view. I'm going to click that arrow. And there we go. And then once I watch it, but I have to watch all of it. I can't watch half of it. I have to watch all of it.
And if you are in the same, if you happen to be in the same session, like you watch it, don't log out and come back, it will pick up from where it stopped.
Oh.
If you log out of the system though, or close your browser, unfortunately, you have to start all over again.
Oh, womp womp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So set aside an hour if it's an hour presentation.
Okay, so another thing that we find quite often, Darren, is that lots of times people want to watch the webinars as a group. And this can be a problem, right?
Yeah, there'll be no record of the other individuals doing that in the system. Now it is possible, and I would not want to discourage people from being in a group and watching. I think it can be very valuable. If that is the case, just have your manager send us a note after the webinar or presentation that we have all, first of all, make sure you all register for it, because that's easy. Then just let us know that everybody watched as a group and who it was, and we can record the attendance in the back end. But you do have to register for it ahead of time.
Exactly.
So I hope this was helpful. Does anybody have any other questions about the new system, how it works, accessing things? I guess the question that Kate asked me earlier is why did we change it? Well, we changed for a couple of reasons. First of all, now everything, all OACFP content is held in the same location. So all of our webinars, instead we had a third party where we had to store all of the recordings. It's all here. It is much easier. I know it sometimes doesn't sound like it, but it is much easier for us to track who's attended things. So when the BAO asks at the end of the year, when they do their random checks, it's far easier for us to go to one location, find all that information, and it makes it easier in the long run. And on that note, I did want to just clarify, we do not automatically send anything to the BAO. The BAO does not ask for anything from us, so it's still the licensees have to submit all of their information at the renewal. They will do spot checks with us. They have in the past few years, and there's never been an issue. But we don't submit anything on your behalf. Quiet bunch, Kate.
I know. I know.
Yes, the BAO does contact us, yes, when they're verifying people who have submitted CE. So I guess if there's no other questions, Kate, can you think of anything we missed?
I can't think of anything top of my head. We've got a really great thank you. So I hope that this session was helpful. And once you get the hang of it, friends, it's fantastic. It's really easy. And it's a great way to be able to keep track of what you've done for the year. And also, if you still have some outstanding work to do under my current activities, that's a really useful tool. But I also would encourage you to bear in mind that under my account, view profile, there is that email log, which is, again, super helpful, because I don't know about you, but I find that I get zillions of emails a day. And sometimes if I'm looking for something specifically from OACFP, like I want to register perhaps for an event or something along those lines, or my certificates from January and February earlier this year, it's great to know it's all housed there. And I can simply scroll through and look up the information that I'm seeking without having to go through all of the other information in my inbox. So that's a really useful tool.
And there's a couple of questions. So the webinar history. So if it's the history of the stuff that you've taken in your My Completed activity, yes, it's listed there by date it was completed. It'll stay in there with the, if you arrow to the right, it'll be the oldest one will be at the far right, and the newest one that you've completed will be first up on the list. The history in the sessions, like the 2023, will be by date as well. So it'll be by the date it's going to be presented. And the other question was, can you register for 6 sessions ahead of time? For sure, yeah. If we're on the ball, we will have all of our webinar dates in January for 2023, and you could actually you should be able to register in the LMS for all of the 2024 sessions. And if there's 6 you want to watch from the recorded one, you can put all 6 in your basket at once, check out, they're all there. They would all be in your My Education.
You could put all your eggs in the basket right now.
You can.
Ooh, another thank you.
So again, we do have some tutorial videos. If you go to our homepage, they're listed on the education page. It's on our YouTube channel. So all of that, a lot of the information here is on there, just not nearly as nice because it's an AI rather than us. So so it is there, but again, if there's any difficulties, or if you are a manager and want to get that super user ability so you can actually register people on your team, just let us know. And with that, if there's no other questions, I do again want to thank you all for coming and for being patient, because I know change is difficult sometimes, but we're hoping in the long run, this will be a very positive change for the OACFP and for the membership. So thank you, Kate, for helping out and for answering a lot of the questions that you have to field. So we're hoping this all goes smoothly as you renew your licenses. So with that, thank you all and have a great day.